a world where losing in your fantasy football league isn't an option, we present to you Triple Coverage Podcast.
Hey YouTubers, if you like what you see, make sure you click subscribe below. Today we're going to do our Thursday night triple threat episode. And yeah, I can't wait to show you who's got to sing today. So crack a cold one and enjoy.
In a world where losing in your fantasy football league isn't an option, we present to you Triple Coverage Podcast.
That's how I feel about Zach Ertz. Welcome to Johnny Ross. You feel the same about him, right?
Yeah, screw Johnny Ross. Early Thursday morning, jump into my seat. I get on that microphone and I talk for TCP. Got to find a reason things went wrong. It's because John Ross sucks. So I'm not off on Alex Collins. I'm just John Ross. Suck it.
Yeah, suck it, John Ross. Week 3, you did the same thing, and you weren't even on Thursday night, but I was watching you, and I saw what you did.
I was hoping that he was had a huge game, so that it was every game but the ones that you happened to pick him in.
No.
Because that's what Zach Ertz does to me every time. It's like production. Oh shit, James picked me.
Zach Ertz actually had a decent game.
And the week after that, week 2, he had 11 catches, I thought, or 11 targets at least. So he just doesn't want to produce when I pick him, which that's why I hate him for the last 3 years.
So welcome back to Triple Coverage Podcast. It is Thursday, and we're going to do our triple threat episode.
Yes.
Thursday night. I'm here with my brother James.
What's up, guys?
And my name is Jay.
Whoop whoop.
And you already heard Travis on Wednesday, so you know he's back. Not for this episode, but he was back on Wednesday, so we're getting things running again. And let's do a little review, preview, and then maybe a little singing in between.
Yeah, maybe, perhaps. Perhaps I'll warm up my vocal cords because it's me. Spoiler alert.
Woo!
Yeah.
So make sure you tune in for that. So let's talk about last week because it's actually a pretty big game. We kind of talked it up it was going to be a good game, and
It was all right.
I thought it was. There was points of it where it was boring, and then all of a sudden, Tyrod Taylor goes out with concussion, and enter Baker Mayfield, and all of a sudden it was shot up. Everyone was shot out of a cannon. The whole crowd was into it.
Everyone
it was
tuned in.
It was nuts.
Well, it was must-see TV. It was the highest-rated Thursday night game in 4 years or something like that. They said
because you got to see the number 1 pick,
Baker
Mayfield against Sam Darnold, who was number 3 overall pick. So
when you say there was lulls or there was, it's because the defenses on these two teams aren't that bad. You got Cleveland's playing really, really well. Their defense is not, giving up 40 points a game like Pittsburgh or Kansas City. They're actually playing pretty well. They actually caused 2 turnovers from Sam Darnold, had 2 interceptions, and he just looked like a rookie quarterback.
Right.
I mean, but the defense is clamping down. They have good secondary. They're playing really well against the run. Between Powell and Crowell, they barely ran for over 100 yards, but Crowell did have those 2 touchdowns. But Mayfield to come in down 14-0, come back, lead them to a victory is what everyone's been waiting to see, and we want to know why it didn't happen sooner. At least for me, I understand you don't want to start the guy right off the gate because that's what they've done in the past, and every time they have done that, it's kind of burned them.
And that's what
Manziel and the last however many years. That's
what Cleveland's MO has always been, is just throwing these guys out to the fire a little bit too soon, and they did it last year with Kaiser. They just didn't want to make the same mistake again. And I give credit to Hugh Jackson. He knew what he had. He knows what he has in Baker Mayfield. Now, from a football standpoint, though, immediately you think we got to pick up Baker Mayfield in fantasy. Absolutely in a 2-quarterback league for sure, but I think that he's going to be better for the Cleveland Browns than he is for your fantasy team. He is going to have those good games.
He can scramble a little bit too, though, and
he can put up fantasy points, but I don't think that he needs to be the number 1 waiver wire ad this week.
No, I agree with that. I think that you got to wait and see. He's very accurate. He actually was 17 for 23, but if you watch the game, he had his receivers drop 3 balls that hit him right in the hands, which is not like Jarvis Landry. He had a drop, Callaway had a drop, and Higgins had a drop. So if those receivers catch the ball that hit him right in the chest or right in the hands, he's 20 out of 23 and tearing up that defense. Whereas Tyrod Taylor going into this game was less than 50% or right around 50% throwing, and then it was still 4 for 14 before he got taken out of this game when he got hurt and got a concussion. So Tyrod Taylor is well below 50% for the season. Baker Mayfield comes in, he would have been 20 for 23, firing the ball all over the place, and it just rejuvenated this entire offense, and it was cool to see. and I'm glad I got to watch the majority of the game. The only thing I wasn't glad is how my guys produced.
Yeah, that's the one thing we'll talk about here in a second. But just to kind of explain a little bit, the Jets had a 14-3 lead at halftime, and they were like just completely dominating the
everything.
ball.
Yeah.
And then you turn around, Baker Mayfield comes in after Taylor goes out with concussion, and they end up scoring 18-3 in the second half. And Baker Mayfield, even though he didn't throw any touchdowns, he led them to all three of those scores in the second half, and I thought he looked great doing it. Like, he showed what everyone kind of knew he had.
Yeah, no
like
touchdown.
The accuracy,
No touchdown passes,
Right.
but it's because the run was going so well. Once Baker Mayfield came in and started slinging the ball downfield a little bit, the defense kind of sagged back and wasn't able to put 8 guys in the box to stop Carlos Hyde and the rest of the guys. So then Carlos Hyde started ripping off a bunch of runs and almost rushed for 100 yards, and he had 2 touchdowns.
And he was actually, I don't know if you got the news right before the game, but I guess the birth of his child was like literally hours before the game, and he was going to go right from the hospital right to the field.
No, it didn't happen. It was after.
Oh, it ended up happening after.
Yeah,
because he was supposed to have it before.
Correct. So I believe is that after the game ended, then he went to the hospital, and Carlos Hyde Jr. was born.
And it was also his birthday?
I don't know. It was a lot going on for Carlos Hyde, so I don't know why I didn't pick him for the Thursday. I don't know. I mean, you know what? I didn't have a chance to. I think it went Landry, and then you took Hyde, and I got the third pick, which was Duke. And yeah, I don't know. Oh, that's a good question actually. Duke Johnson, is he the odd man out here, or is it just the way the game was? Because they were losing in the game, and he's supposed to be this big reception guy. He's supposed to be the PPR guy. They were going to use him more because they lost Josh Gordon in the trade, and now Corey Coleman's out of there, and it was just Landry and Callaway. And it's like, okay, like this is a spot where Duke Johnson, I could see him getting 7 to 10 targets minimum. And then I'm watching for him, like, where is he at? He had two targets, caught both of them, but why were they not using him? He only had 2 runs, 2 catches, and you're down. So if you don't use him here, what kind of game script has to happen for you to use him?
I think it's going to be different with Mayfield knowing that he's a starter. Like, he's already been named the starter for Week 4. Whether Taylor is healthy or not, they've already said.
Oh, right.
He's in concussion protocol still, but whether he's healthy or not, Mayfield's a starter. They've already announced that. I want to see what the game script is like now, because I think it gives an uptick to all of the position players. I think that Landry is going to stay where he's at, which I think is a back-end wide receiver 1 or a high-end wide receiver 2. I think that Njoku gets a little bump up for what he's been so far this year. I think Duke Johnson will bump up a little bit, and I think Callaway stays about the same. Like, Callaway got 10 targets in that game.
I know.
And he only caught 4, but he's a rookie.
Majority of those were from Taylor.
Right. So I think he stays about the same, but I think you uptick Duke Johnson, and I think you uptick Njoku, and I think Landry is even more proficient, if that's even possible.
What about
I think Hyde still keeps starting.
What about the other side of the ball in dynasty leagues? You felt really good when Darnold came out and just absolutely lit up the Detroit Lions at Week 1.
Mm-hmm.
Week 2 was just like okay, didn't really do that great. And now again, Week 3, he have 160 yards throwing, I think.
169.
169 yards throwing and 2 interceptions. I mean, I don't think he's going to get pulled by any means, but in a dynasty league, what do you do with Darnold?
I'm not worried at all. He's a rookie, and I'm going to chalk that up. He's got a good team around him. They have a good defense. I think he will see better games. It's just going to be kind of sketchy. He's not somebody I'm starting in a redraft league.
For sure not.
But if you're in a 2-quarterback league, I'm okay starting him as my number 2. Because he's going to have good games. It's just like Josh Allen for the Buffalo Bills. He looked terrible when he first came in. And then just this last week against Minnesota, he actually looked pretty good. He had 2 rushing touchdowns that bailed him out, though.
He had that hurdle, too.
Right.
That was awesome. Okay, so let's say... real quick here before I move on to my punishment. The Jets are going after Le'Veon Bell.
Right.
Okay. What would they have to give up, and what happens to, if let's just assume that they do get Le'Veon Bell, what happens to Crowell? What happens to Bilal Powell? What happens to Elijah McGuire and all these guys that are in the backfield? Are they just irrelevant? Do they get traded with it? Are they, you know what I mean? Like, is Isaiah Crowell going to be part of that trade to send over to Pittsburgh? Or they just want a draft pick for him? I'm very interested to see what you think about if Le'Veon Bell goes there. That obviously will help Darnold, kind of open up the passing game a little bit, you would assume. But what are they going to have to give up, and who's this going to hurt if they do get Le'Veon Bell?
Well, the way it's set up right now is that if Pittsburgh doesn't do anything at all and doesn't trade him, and Le'Veon sits out the entire year, they'll get a 3rd-round pick next year.
Right.
As a compensatory pick. So obviously if they're going to trade him, they want higher than a 3rd-round pick.
Correct.
So you're looking at either a first, which I don't think the Jets give up a first.
No chance.
So you're looking at a 2nd-round pick possibly.
And a player?
And is it going to be one of these guys that they move? Like, I don't know if Powell has a whole lot of value to the Pittsburgh Steelers, Crowell would have a ton of value to the Pittsburgh Steelers because like he's only 25 years old, and they'd have Connor and basically Crowell.
Wow.
They'd have a two-man committee there, and Connor looked good in spots. He looked great week 1, but the last 2 weeks he just looked okay.
But you have Crowell can catch, and then you have Connor who can also catch as well, and it kind of. I like to see what Connor can do, and he looked pretty good last night. Monday night I should say. And in situations like he wasn't Le'Veon Bell where every time he touches the ball you're waiting for fireworks to happen.
He's looked good, not
yes,
great.
Correct. He's and I think that's because of the system a little bit because they're down and it's like a lot of hurry up offense. The Pittsburgh runs a ton of plays and it's not this slow offense. It's draining the clock. It's a high-powered offense, and when they're not throwing downfield, they're breaking off 10, 15-yard runs, and that's when Connor looks great.
So I'm curious to see what the Jets' offer was. To be honest with you, I'm sure it'll come out in the next few days if Pittsburgh has turned it down. But you got to figure it's at least a second-round pick. No, they're just in talks.
Oh, okay.
That's one of the only teams they've named so far.
But for the Jets, what does that really do? Like you bring in Le'Veon Bell, which is a huge name, and I'm not trying to downplay how great Le'Veon Bell is, but like, do you expect that's going to get you like a deep playoff run? Like, you know what I mean? Like they're 1-2, they just lost to the Cleveland Browns. Like adding Le'Veon Bell, does that make you believe in the Jets going forward that they're going to be a different team?
Maybe the Jets look at it like, you know what, the Patriots are 1-2 right now. And this is Miami's 3-0, but they're not really an undefeated team, what they should be. You know what I mean?
I agree.
And so maybe the Jets are looking at it like, look, this is our one chance where the division's wide open, and why not us? And they're going to go out and get one of the best players out there.
They're going to have to pay him a lot of money. They're going to have to sign him to a contract extension and probably pay him $17 or $18 million a year. I mean,
I think they're okay with that.
I don't know. I'm going to be very interested to see if any of these actual like fantasy relevant players get shipped off in that deal, because if a guy like Crowell goes to Pittsburgh, his value skyrockets. If a guy like Bilal Powell goes to Pittsburgh, even I think it goes up. Even if it's one of these receivers like a Nunwa or somebody else, it could be like something like a Terrell Pryor gets a throw in, and then all of a sudden now he's fantasy relevant because Roethlisberger throws the ball so much. So right. I'm interested to see what happens there with Le'Veon Bell. Also, I made a trade for him in the offseason. I can't wait to get him on the field and maybe play. Because so far all he's doing is costing me points on my bench.
If you're one of the savvy owners that was raising red flags to the whole Le'Veon Bell deal and said, you know what, I don't usually do handcuffs, I'm going to take the handcuff and take James Conner, now you're loving it, because if he does get traded, now you have 2 starting running backs. You have Conner on the Steelers, and you have Le'Veon Bell wherever he goes instead of just that handcuff.
That's 2 guaranteed starters in your lineup every week.
Right.
So for our wall bets last week, let's see, David, who was on the podcast last week, he picked Jarvis Landry first, who got him 23 points. He had Crowell, he picked last, which got him 19. So he had a total of 42.5 points. Jay came in second with Carlos Hyde with 24 points. Bilal Powell had 7.5 almost. So he had 31.5 points, and I was dead last, and it wasn't even close. I didn't even have to watch the second half. I even said, I'm like, well, if a new one catches a long touchdown, and I start adding it up, and I'm like, I guess I need 2 long touchdowns. So Duke Johnson had 4.3. Enunwa had 9.7 points, which is very disheartening for me, but it is what it is. And so I will be doing my punishment for everyone, and it's going to be Shawn Mendes, In My Blood is the name of the song. So I'm going to put this headphone in here, and we're going to try to time it together. The chance of this working the first time is slim, but like we said before, we're just going to go with it. So you got the speaker. Okay, whenever you're ready.
You let me know.
3, 2, 1, go ahead. Help me. It's like you guys won't let me win. Sometimes I feel like giving up, but I just can't. It isn't in my blood. Laying on the studio floor, feeling nothing. I'm overwhelmed and insecure. Give me something I can use to win my week, surely. Just make a catch and I'll feel better. Just get a touchdown, I'll feel better. Keep telling me that it gets better. Duke Johnson, does it ever? Help me. It's like the walls are caving in. Sometimes I feel like giving up. No reception is long enough. Someone help me. I'm crawling in my skin. Sometimes I feel like giving up, but I just can't. It isn't in my blood. It isn't in my blood. I'm looking at the stats again, feeling anxious, afraid to sing alone again. I hate this. Trying to find a way to chill, can't breathe. Oh, is there somebody who can help me? It's like the time's about to end. Sometimes I feel like giving up. No touchdown will be long enough. Quincy, help me. I'm crawling in my skin. Sometimes I feel like giving up, but I just can't. It isn't in my blood. One more. It isn't in my blood. Woo! Hopefully that was semi on cue there. Was
Yeah,
it?
it was actually pretty. It was
that was-
pretty on cue. There.
Okay, that was close. I had to have the other headphone in to sing with him, so I couldn't hear how bad my singing voice was. So, a lot better than the first week. I feel a lot better about that one.
Yeah, I feel better about that one than the
Alright.
first week too.
Thanks, Quincy and Nunwa. You're on my S list right now. Duke Johnson, you're just disappeared forever, and I don't know what's. I
think
can't.
Duke was the one that disappeared for you, and that one, at least the new one, put up almost 10
Okay,
points.
I was gonna say, but Duke Johnson, I was like, okay, they're down. They're down. Like this is my spot, and I'm sitting here watching Carlos Hyde get a touchdown. Then Corell gets a touchdown and wipes his ass with it and throws it in the crowd. And I'm like, everyone's having fun. Everyone's having fun but me. And I'm like, where's Duke Johnson at?
They open up the Bud Light.
Then I see a different guy come out, and I'm like, okay, here's Duke Johnson. I'm like, wait, is that Nick Chubb? And I'm like, now Nick Chubb's getting carries. I'm like, what the hell's going on with Duke Johnson? But punishment served. You accept it?
100%.
Okay, punishment served for next week. Next Thursday is, I don't know if you want to pull it up or if you can. Next Thursday is the Minnesota Vikings at the LA Rams. A great game, it looks like. We don't know if Dalvin Cook at the moment is going to play or not. Looks like he's going to be a game time decision. And since we're recording this on a Tuesday, we're not 100% sure of that yet. And we're going to do something different this week because there is only 2 of us participating in the, quote, triple threat wall bet. Travis couldn't make the episode, decided he didn't want to do it. So I said, you know what? I'm not going to scramble to try to find a replacement. I'd rather just sack up and take a 50-50 shot of losing and have some fun with it instead of being all, worried.
Yeah, and we're going to pick...
I don't want to live in fear.
We're going to pick 3 players each instead of only 2 this time, and the caveat to that is that we're each going to pick a quarterback. So we're still going to pick 2 position players like usual, but this time we're throwing in a quarterback because we're going to have 3 each.
Yeah, so we'll change it up a little bit. Do we want to preview the game first or let them know who we have?
Yeah, let's preview the game first.
Okay.
So we have, like we said, Minnesota Vikings at the LA Rams on Thursday night. By all accounts, it looks like it's going to be a great game because these are the 2 teams that everyone kind of picked for the NFC Championship game and said these 2 teams were fully loaded. The thing that sucks about it is that the Rams, while they are 3-0, they're going to be missing Marcus Peters and Aqib Talib in the secondary, and that's a huge hit. They're still going to be solid against the run, I believe, but I think that Kirk Cousins is going to be able to. Kirk Cousins is going to be able to throw on this LA Rams team, unlike what you've seen in the first 3 weeks.
So, have you seen the line to this game? Because you have it pulled up on ESPN right now, and the line's not up there. I see the line here, but do you know what it is?
If I had to guess, I would say that. Oh, there you go. Yeah, I was gonna say 7, 6.5.
So the Rams are favored by 6.5. They're the home team, and the over/under right now is 49.5 or 50, I guess, depending on where you get it. I love the over. I love the over. If Cook plays or doesn't play, to me, it's not that big of an issue. Thielen and Diggs and this whole offense is kind of rolling right now. They looked horrible against Buffalo, and I don't know what happened last week, but that just shows me that they were looking past Buffalo because they knew they had a short week coming up, and the short week was against the LA Rams. So I'm sure they were probably saying, you know what, let's just roll over Buffalo and we'll worry about LA. And sometimes that happens. The team will never admit that. Coach will never admit that. But clearly that's what happened because Buffalo couldn't do anything against anyone. All of a sudden they come out and score, however many points, ran up the score on them. And it wasn't like it was just Minnesota's defense that let them down. They couldn't score. They made Buffalo's defense look like it was the old Buffalo defense, and it looks like the Jacksonville Jaguars defense. I
fully believe that everyone counted out Buffalo. I fully believe that no one gave Buffalo any shot. I mean, they looked terrible the first 2 weeks. I thought they were the worst team. They probably still might be. Oh, yeah. I thought they were the worst team in the NFL, hands down, without even contesting it. And I think that Minnesota literally overlooked them, knowing that they had this matchup with the Rams.
Right.
And
Which is,
I fully agree.
I think that Buffalo game was a lot bigger than people are making it sound, because instead of them being 2-0-1, now Minnesota's 1-1-1. So that's almost like having 2 losses, because if it comes down to a tie, and one team's 9-7 and the other one is 8-1 or whatever it is, 8-7-1, however that shakes down, that tie is going to end up screwing them on tiebreakers at the end of the season. If they're talking about seeding
and home field advantage
and the first round bye and all the other stuff that comes along with that, they're going to wish that they took that game a little bit more serious. And then what about halftime adjustments? I'm like, all right, second half, make some adjustments, come out firing. That didn't even happen. So I fully believe that Minnesota is going to be ready for this game, and they're going to be turned up regardless if Dalvin Cook plays or not. I like the Rams minus the 6.5 points. I still to cover the point spread, and I love the over more than either one of those sides.
This is a big game for both teams. Like if the Rams win this game, which they should at home, and they go to 4-0, their division is so bad that they could have their division wrapped up by like week 11.
Well, yeah, because now you have Garoppolo's out for the season.
Seattle's CJ Beathard. Seattle's 1-2. I mean, I don't see them being any kind of threat. And Arizona's 0-3. Like they're not gonna. Like, even with Josh Rosen taking over that job, I don't see them all of a sudden rattling off 5 wins in a row.
No, I agree with that. But the next couple of games that they do have for the Rams, they play at Seattle, which is a division game, and I think that's an easy win. That's a winnable game. Then they play on the road again at Denver, and then on the road again at San Francisco. They have 3 away games in a row because this is their 3rd straight home game in a row. So they go 3 games at home, 3 games on the road. So look for them to roll Minnesota in this game. And that's my opinion. I think that they win easily in this game, and now they go on a 3-game road trip at Seattle, at Denver, at San Fran. 2 of those 3 games are very winnable, and before you know it, they're on to week 7. They could be 6-1.
From a betting perspective, that Denver game is the one that I would look for a letdown, because they have it sandwiched in between 2 divisional road games. And what you can say which one about the division, like I just said, how bad the division is, but when you're playing those division teams on the road and they know each other so well, those are going to be 2 tough games.
I agree with that.
Regardless of their record.
I agree with that. But even, it's almost like the schedule's favoring the Rams a little bit here, because there are 3 road games, but it's from L.A. to Seattle, not that far away. From L.A. to Denver, not that far away. From L.A. to San Francisco, really not that far. Like, they're all right there in that little area. It's not like they're traveling all the way to the East Coast. They're not traveling to Miami. They're not traveling up to New York. Like, they're all their games. And week 1 they played at Oakland Raiders. So essentially the first 7 games of the season, they haven't traveled anywhere. The furthest they're going to travel is Seattle. Like that benefits them tremendously, and then the next wave is when it gets harder.
That if they do win this game in Minnesota, which is a big if, because I think it's gonna be a tough game. If they win this game, they're 4-0, and then they play Seattle, and say they win that game, they're 5-0. They're gonna be favored big in that Denver game, even though it's in Denver.
Right.
And that's where they're gonna have a letdown. I would take Denver at home in that game plus points. You're gonna get points in home.
Yes, they're probably going to get about 5.5, 6.5 points probably at home.
So I agree with that for the Rams.
So I'm just a little concerned after that. Week 8 through 11, they go against Green Bay, at New Orleans, Seattle, which is a division game, and then the Chiefs, and then they go on a bye. So that could be their little tough stretch. Once they get past that, it's easy breezy. So I don't know. I like the Rams to roll Minnesota. I also like the over. So bet it. If you like the over like I do, bet it now. Bet it as soon as you can, because by Thursday it's going to be up to 50. Then it's going to be up to probably 50.5 or 51, because everyone's going to see 2 high-scoring teams and they're going to want to take the over. So if you do like the over, bet it now. Get it in. Get your money on the Rams and the over, if you ask me. I hit big on Monday night with. I thought that was the easiest 2-teamer. It was the most money I've ever bet on a 2-teamer, and I think ever in my life.
And Fitzmagic almost happened again.
Yeah, but Pittsburgh and over, it looked too easy, and it was. So just get your money in when you can there. So we did. Did you want to touch on anything else in this game? If Dalvin Cook doesn't play, are you okay with starting Latavius Murray in your flex spot or as a spot starter in fantasy? Because the run defense is still good, but the 2 corners are out for the Rams, but that doesn't really affect the run game as much as it.
I would give him another shot in the flex. Yes, I would.
Okay. Yeah, he burned me last week.
It would have been a no-brainer, guaranteed 100% if he didn't play so bad last week. But I'll give him another shot in the flex spot if Dalvin Cook doesn't go. And I'm not 100% sure. Like, Dalvin Cook was the only one saying that he was guaranteed going to play last week. They never came out, and then he was like limited in practice all week,
right.
And then they ended up benching him because of not being healthy. So I'm not even 100% sure on a short week. Like, think about it from a team perspective. Mm-hmm. He sits week 3 to get rest, right?
Right.
And then you have a short week in week 4. Now you're going to have 10 days of rest. You might as well sit him game 4 and let him get that long extra rest, and then he'll come back 100% healthy, hopefully, for week 5.
I hope that this isn't Dalvin Cook's career. He's got so much talent. He can run, he can catch, he can block, he can do everything, and I'm just waiting to see him piece it together for like a long span, a long stretch of 6 weeks, 7 weeks, 8 weeks where he just goes off, kind of like, Deshaun Watson last year. Like, he's poised to do that, and he has the talent to do that. He just needs to stay on the field. And last season he had a season-ending injury. Now this season he's getting hamstring issues, and those linger for the season. I just want him to. I agree with you. Like, take this one extra week off. Make sure you're 100% when you come back, so you don't have to keep having this thing linger for the next however many weeks. You want him to be ready to go for the end of the season, the playoffs, and give him his rest now. And the talent is still there. It's not going anywhere. Use Latavius Murray, and they'll be okay going forward until Dalvin Cook comes back. So I agree. I would give Murray one last chance.
One more shot on the flex.
I'm starting everybody on the
Otherwise,
Rams.
you're starting everybody. Yeah.
Everyone on the Rams, outside of their tight end, Gurley, Kupp, Cooks. I'm starting Woods for sure. Minnesota, you're obviously starting Thielen and Diggs. You're starting Rudolph, and you're starting, I think, Murray. And if Cook plays, you're obviously starting Cook.
Right. Okay. And you're starting both quarterbacks because you own both those quarterbacks, and they're not really streamers at this point. So you're starting both those guys. I kind of differ with you a little bit. I like the over in this game, but I have a feeling that Minnesota is going to bounce back. I mean, they played
Put it
terrible.
on the wall.
They
Put it on the wall. I'm positive on this.
You're positive. Even with the 2 corners out for the Rams. Like, no Talib.
That's why I think it's going to be high scoring.
And no Marcus Peters.
But if you're asking me whose offense is going to win a track meet, it's going to be LA. Goff is throwing the ball. Like, they're clicking on all cylinders, and Sean McVay is one of those coaches that if the first quarter is not working the way that he thinks it's going, he'll make changes on the fly like crazy. He's not one of these teams that's like the Lions where like they're basically telling you, hey, we're stealing your hand signals, and he's like, yeah, that's okay. We're just going to come out with the same hand signals and run up the score on you.
Right, but if you have to think about that same perspective is that if they do get into a shootout, 7 points is a lot of points to give up. If it ends up in a shootout, it could end up like Monday night's game with Pittsburgh and Tampa Bay, where all of a sudden one team's ahead and the other team has enough firepower to come back, and all of a sudden it's a field goal game. I think the Rams win this game straight up, but I just think 7's a lot of points.
I agree. The 6.5 or 7 is a lot of points. I just don't think it's going to come into play. I think the Rams will roll them. I don't know.
We can put a wall bet. I'll take 7.
I already wrote it down.
7.
Whoa, 7. What's it say on your? Why are you taking 7? You get the extra half a point?
If you're so confident.
I'm not just going to give you points because I'm confident. What? You're adding a half a point. No, now you're going to try to find on a website that says 7. You just looked and it said 6. Now it's 6.5.
Okay. 6.5. Okay, it opened up at 7, down to 6.5.
And look at the over/under there. I just talked about 47.5. It's already up to 49.5 in my sports. So it already went up 2 full points.
Right.
So again, if you like the over, bet it now and don't wait till Thursday when you hear this.
Shootout City.
Yeah, exactly. Rams and over. Let's go. So for this week, we drew names, and it was just me and Jay. I drew the number 1 pick, and I took Todd Gurley, and Jay drew the number 2 pick, and you went with
Adam Thielen. This, of course, is a PPR league.
And then did we go back and forth? We did go back and forth. Okay, so then I took Stephon Diggs.
Mm-hmm. And then I took the first quarterback with Jared Goff.
And then I went Kirk Cousins.
And I went Dalvin Cook. And obviously, we're doing this a little early, so if Dalvin Cook doesn't play, then I took Woods as a backup.
Right, so for James has Todd Gurley, Stephon Diggs, Kirk Cousins. Jay has Jared Goff, Adam Thielen, and Dalvin Cook. If Dalvin Cook doesn't play, I gave him a replacement, which is going to be Robert Woods. So I'm almost hoping that Cook does play because Woods has that long potential touchdown.
Yeah,
thing
almost
that
Cook doesn't play.
It's like Woods can all of a sudden catch a 60-yard touchdown in the fourth quarter in garbage time or something, and that could kill me. Whereas Cook, he would have to work a lot to get that 60-yard touchdown. So I'm almost hoping Dalvin Cook does play, to be honest with you. Even though Cook's a lot bigger name and should score more points, the big potential points is what scares me on Thursday nights. Mm-hmm. I don't like that. But anyways, good luck to you, and then we will see who wins next week, and we will have a punishment ready to go. Any particular song or artist that you're looking at, or you don't even look until...
I don't even look until I lose, because I like to match it up with the names. Like I like to try to find something
now you
that rhymes
got
with the name.
a couple options here now.
Yeah.
Thielen, a lot of stuff rhymes with Thielen.
Goff is going to be easy.
How about you do Drake's song, In My Feelings, but In My Thielens?
No.
Like you're Mike Tyson?
Not confident enough in that one.
In My Thielens.
But I'll tell you what, Goff will be easy one, and so will Cook or Woods. Like the short names like that, they're going to be easy. Thielen's going to be tough.
Gurley's going to be funny to me.
Yeah.
You know, I'll just change the U to an I, you know? You and I together. All right, you ready to crack one?
Let's crack it.
Crack it.